Hello, everybody, and welcome again back to Procrastinator's Pit Stop. I have another exciting guest here for you today. We are with Stephan Zugat. He is a former interim manager for finance and accounting, bringing over 18 years of extensive business experience across companies of various sizes and industries. Now he dedicates his expertise to coaching business owners and managers on strategies to improve profits and cash flow, helping them to create businesses and lives they truly love. Additionally, he works with individuals to help them gain clarity and discover happiness from within. Stephan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm happy to be here.
And we're definitely happy to have you here. We'll dig into a lot of this interesting topics in just a moment. We do like to have an icebreaker on the show, and the question for you today was: which cartoon character do you resonate with the most, and why?
My favorite cartoon character is the Roadrunner from the Roadrunner and Coyote, because what I like about the Roadrunner is he's really smart and he outperforms the Coyote all the time. And I can see that in my own personality sometimes. I recognize things rather quick. And I wouldn't tell myself being smart, but some people do. And I say, okay, if you see me that, but the Roadrunner is the one that really resonates most with me.
I like that. I like the Roadrunner and that interaction he has all the time too. He's always on the run, and he's
Yeah,
always
yeah. But,
analyzing.
but when you take a look to it, still there is some moments where he is reflecting, yeah, and checking the situation, and then off he goes, right? And has the right direction. So it's what I like, and I used to like it as a child already.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, Stefan, why don't you let us know how do you define procrastination, and what does it mean to you personally?
So for me, procrastination is mostly connected to overwhelm. Because when I feel overwhelmed, and I have seen that with so many other people, is that you really start stepping back and you are reluctant to take action, no matter what it is. So an overwhelm for me comes from so many different perspectives. It's most of the time really that I procrastinate when I feel it's too much of whatever it is at the moment.
Hmm. See, no, I like that definition. And why don't you go a little bit into your background, your journey, and how you got to be where you are today?
Yeah. As you said at the beginning, I had been a former interim manager and freelance accountant for more than 18 years. While I have been with so many businesses talking about the numbers and so on, with the time I recognized I wasn't speaking that much with my clients about the numbers anymore. And it was more about strategy, giving them feedback about ideas they had. And so I realized there is something different. For a finance guy, it's unnatural to not talk that much about numbers. So I said, well, what am I doing here? And I recognized it with so many clients that I had. And that brought me into coaching, learning more about coaching. And I could see, yeah, that's what I like to do because it felt like the natural next step. So still numbers are important for every business. There is no way around it. But there is so much more than numbers. And talking about a strategy or feedback and ideas with CEOs or even business owners there's much more in there than just the numbers. And I really like that.
Okay. And was there any you mentioned, you're speaking to a bunch of clients and understanding that it's not just numbers, and you weren't discussing numbers with them. Was there any really one moment where you can identify where you thought, yes, this is exactly what I want to do, that sort of switch?
Yeah, as I said, that was one moment I was walking out of the client's office and I was wondering, we spent about, I don't know, half a day or more, and we rarely speak about numbers, maybe for an hour of the whole day. And I said, that's unusual. So I was thinking, what was the topics? And as I said, I realized I did that. It happened with many more clients at the same time. And then I got into coaching and used that, what I learned about coaching methods with my clients. And that was more enlightening for me as well, because I could see this shift in the personality right away. most of the times you ask some questions about specific topics the client like to work on, and out of nowhere you see them shine in their face, right? You feel they are starting to be more motivated, and even mentioning that to them is really they didn't even recognize as that. That's what I like to do. That's it. Because in finance and accounting, it takes sometimes so long until you see any impact of the work you're doing. And in coaching, you can have it right there immediately sometimes, as I just described. Sometimes it may take a little longer, but that's it. That's what I really love about it. You can see it in the people. You can see they just walk away and they have more motivation. They know what to do. And that's perfect.
Let's go back for a second here about overwhelm. You defining procrastination as being overwhelmed. What advice or what tips do you have for somebody who's maybe feeling overwhelmed? I mean, the holiday season is upon us, right? So overwhelm is definitely a big part of that.
Yeah. So the first step is what I usually do is just take a deep breath, just relax. Even if you feel, I know the feeling of overwhelm won't go away with that. But the moment you calm down a bit, you can again start think, what is it that overwhelms you? Is it just all the things you have to do with the Christmas season is crazy, all the things you have to do. So you have to figure out who to invite for whatever you like to do, parties with your family or whatever. And it's the same in business. And there's so much information that easily overwhelms us. And so stepping back, taking a deep breath, and then just taking a look, what is it that overwhelms me? As I said, most of the time it's too much of something. And in business, for me, what I have seen is too much information, too much opportunities. Just take a look at marketing, for example. How many marketing opportunities or options you have today? And that could overwhelm one. At least that was my experience. I said, okay, and or you have a to-do list that never ends, and that's something that's normal in business, right? You just get something off your to-do list, but two or more items get onto it. So it never really gets smaller, and that's something to get used to it. From there, I think that's the issue where the overwhelm comes from. And then procrastination starts because you say, well, how could I solve all that?
No, you raise a very valid point. I mean, a lot of it is, decisions or too much information. So in business, how would you approach that? Let's say I'm a business owner and we'll use marketing. I mean, I really know I need to be marketing more because, I want more customers, more clients. I want more visibility. But, there's Facebook, Instagram, socials, telephone, emails, cold marketing, LinkedIn marketing. So there's a lot of information. So how do you approach that with clients in trying to narrow that down?
So I usually break everything down in three categories or three steps, let's say that way. So first thing is you need to have clarity. And just what you just said, it's you need clarity about what could you possibly do about marketing. And you just named so many things. That's something you can just write down and then you have some clarity what's possible. But the next step is focus. What are you focusing on? And focusing on is something, you need to focus on something that resonates with you, with your business, and which you believe has the biggest impact for your business. That could be different, right? So maybe for your business, social media advertisement or something on social media makes sense. But if you have heavy industrial machines, that might not be the right audience. So you have to find something different. So it depends on your business model, on the products and services. From that, you focus what is the best opportunity for you. And then you may come up with, let's say, 3 or 5 things. And from these 3 or 5 things, the next step is to take action. And you take action with the ones that you believe, okay, I have 5 items on my list. And I believe number 1 is the one I have written down that has the most impact on my business. And then you go from there. So that's how I approach it.
Right. And in terms of overwhelm too, we talk about a lot about those to-do lists, right? And delegation. So do you work with your clients as well, a lot on delegation as well?
Well, delegation is part of the actions, but it could also be part of the focus. So if I have employees to delegate with, okay, then I can say, okay, these actions is something that I delegate to my employees. But there might be something that you like to do yourself. So it really depends. If you have the people doing it who could do it, then you can delegate. There might be things coming up where you say, well, maybe something like you have direct contact with your clients, and it might make sense doing it yourself if you are the business owner or the CEO, at least for, let's say, the most important clients of your business. And then you might delegate the rest to your sales department leader. So it really depends on what the action is and if that's possible to delegate or not.
Excellent. Now, I do want to touch on your book as well, because as you know, the saying goes, is it 98% procrastination and 2% actual writing? And that's the process for writing. How true is that for you?
I think there was a little bit of procrastination while I had written the book, not that much that I thought about. The problem for me was to really find an end to say that's it right now, because I was so in the writing and I had so many more ideas that I said, if I don't stop now, I might write for another 6 months or longer and have an even bigger book. And I don't think that would really be much more beneficial than what it is right now. There have been some days where I really procrastinated because I felt like I had no idea what else to write. But then for me, the easiest thing was, because the book is based on my experiences from being an interim manager, it was easy to just sit down and just say, okay, what experience did I have? And going there again and writing it down and taking a look to my old CVs again, where I put everything together. And even so, there might not really cover everything, but that helped me to get over these moments where I felt like there is a blank page and I can't move on.
Yeah, you mentioned their writer's block, right? Where you sat there and you didn't really know what to write. What did you do to get over that?
As I said, I just take a look to old things that had been written down, like what do I have done with specific clients. Usually in the past, when I was an interim manager, I really wrote down the different items I had been doing with these businesses, like the monthly reportings, the controlling, the process optimizations, and whatever it was, right? So I had a really big, let's say, bullet point list, and I could go through that. But honestly, sometimes you just sit there and you have that, but still you don't get an idea. What else could I write? The only thing that helped me in that moment was just put it aside, do something different, really get your head around something that has nothing to do with the book. And that's so true with other things as well, and even in business. And do something different. And out of nowhere, you do something, and then there is this idea, yeah, I can continue with this. So that helped me.
Interesting. Okay. And just so we talk about overwhelm in terms of these books, what do you think is the biggest cause in terms of being a business owner? I mean, we said information, right? But in the businesses you've worked with, is it more about marketing? Is it more about expansion?
It could have been so many different things, right? So sometimes it could have been the sheer amount of information that was available. And sometimes it could have been the amount of people you have to take care about. Like I remember a CEO about stakeholder relationship, and he was totally overwhelmed by he was treating all his stakeholders equally. And that's, most of the times, it's not a good idea, because you have stakeholders that don't need that much attention. And so, and after the coaching, he was totally fine and said, okay, now I know which stakeholders I need to focus on. But this overwhelm about treating all his stakeholders the same way was going for him that he didn't care much about them, not as much as he should have done. But the moment he was clear about, I just have about 3 or 4 stakeholders that I really have to engage more with, and the others are something, if I write them an email once in a while, that they are fine with that. And then he was absolutely fine. He could really see, oh yeah, these are the 4 I have to focus on. These are the information they are looking for. And here goes the overwhelm. It's gone because now he has clarity about who. He has focus about the items he needs to share with them. And then he could take action.
So what you're saying too is that a lot of the time we could create our own overwhelm by maybe trying to overextend or do things which aren't necessary.
Absolutely. I see that for myself. It's sometimes crazy, and I wonder what the heck I'm doing. Why not step back? Just cut your to-do list in half, and still you have more than enough things that have an impact on your business. Yeah, we are all I guess perfect with that, creating our own overwhelm.
And do you use any tools, or do you have any tools that you prefer, like the Eisenhower matrix or the ABC system that you prefer to use when you're going through and trying to figure that out?
Not really. I just it's interesting. What I use for myself is most of the time I use bullet point lists to really just remembering, and I sort these bullet point lists in this structure. I use clarity. What is it that I want? What is it that I need? And then what do I like to focus on? Which opportunities I have? And then what is it that I think is the best opportunity to take action? So that's my personal approach. So because I tried so many other things, and I felt like that doesn't resonate and feels like a natural flow with how I work. So I said, well, I come up with my own style. So doing it the way I feel most confident with, and seeing that I have the information ready when I need it, whenever I need it. So the only tools I use is a note-taking app, which allows me to really sort my notes into categories, which I can add to or reduce as much as I like. And it allows me to search for things. So I have so many things in my note-taking app. And I say, okay, this is more or less my wiki, my personal wiki, and that fuels everything I'm doing.
Okay. And this is something that I've been looking at a lot recently as well. Do you use any sort of AI tool to try and help you edit that list as well, or is it just you taking notes and then moving around manually?
Yeah, I used a couple of times ChatGPT, but then I stumbled over Gen AI, which is an offline tool which you can run on your computer. You don't need even a sophisticated GPU or something, and it's pretty slow on a computer. But for me, I just use it for like outlines for blog posts, maybe for getting some ideas about topic I'd like to write about, and also maybe rephrasing something. So something that I really say it's okay if it runs an hour, if it runs 4 hours, it's okay. Just let it work and come up with something. And that's all I use it for. What I felt is the AI tools are great. You can even write complete blog posts with it. But for me, the natural personality is missing from it. Yeah, you can have so many. I've even this offline tool I use there could generate beautiful blog posts, but when I read them, I just say, well, it's true, but it's not me. It's not me talking about it. It's not including my personal experience, and that's a big part of my business. It's the experience and my personality, and that needs to come across with whatever thing I create, be it a video, be it a blog post, be it a book. The book is that I have written is purely written by myself. There is no AI in there. So it's, and that's what I find it's most crucial in business. The personality of the owner, of the people working in the business. AI is a great tool to get ideas, but that's it, what I see it for. It might help you to improve processes, of course, and it's great in analyzing huge amount of data, for sure. But when it comes to personality, I stick with my own.
No, and I really like the topic of AI, especially as it relates to overwhelm and just productivity in general. Just because, but then we're getting to the next step again, right? You have all this information, you feed it to the AI, it spits it out, and then the hope is that maybe you have something that's a little bit condensed. Have you ever used it for that, to take something that's really overwhelming and break it down?
Yeah, I remember I had a couple of items that I thought I was really struggling in summarizing it. So a huge post. I think, so what is the summary about it? And I tried myself, but didn't came up with something that I said, well, that you could read that. That doesn't sound well. So I put it into that any AI tool, and out comes a wonderful summary. And I say, that's it. Now I can add my personality to it. Saved a lot of time. And I had been getting rid of my feeling of overwhelm. How do I get that summary done?
Yeah, but you bring up a very good point too. I mean, especially now, do you think that see, I've heard a lot of different arguments, and I always enjoy asking this to people I talk to. Do you think that in the end, where the information comes from is going to matter? I mean, obviously you're very heavy on personality. I'm very heavy on authenticity and personality as well. But I've talked to other people who said they wouldn't mind reading these AI generated articles if they could get the information they needed. Where do you sit on
Yeah, I can totally understand that perspective, because when you read these articles, they are pretty good. Yet sometimes you have to verify information sometimes. I had a couple of times, I had moments where I felt like, "Oh, what is this thing telling me? Is that really true?" We all heard that AI tools can hallucinate sometimes
that?
and come up with
Sure.
ideas of facts that are no facts at all. So it's the only thing. But I could totally accept that people just say, I would just read that. It's okay. Because there is a lot of good information in there, in these posts from AI tools.
So let me ask you maybe it's a little controversial question, maybe not. Would you be more inclined to fact check something written by AI or fact check something written by a human writer?
Either way. I would, if I had the feeling that I need to fact check something, I don't mind who was the writer. If it was an AI tool or real writer. So I would do a fact check anyway. So if I feel there is something, is that true? I would check it, no matter what the source is. And even if the source might be someone who you say it's well known, I would still, if there is a feeling in me that says, let's check it, I go for it.
Excellent, excellent. Now, just to go back over your book a little bit, but what do you think was your biggest challenge with that? I mean, you mentioned that you had some, writer's block a little bit, and then you said that you were questioning if you would put everything in the book, and you had to stop at some point. But what do you think was your biggest challenge with that?
The biggest challenge with the book? Okay, the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge, I think it was the book cover, I think. When I really feel into it, because the book cover is something that really has to resonate, because it's the first thing that everyone sees. And that was a bit of a tedious process, really getting the designer to catch my idea and then coming up with a few options. It was a light version with a light background, and then the one which is actually had been become, which is a blue background. And by the way, that's the book, how it looks. Like so. So it's really, that was something I said, okay, what? And then there was so many little things in the process of making that cover, really in the way that I say, that's it. Now it's really not only reflecting my personality, but also what is in the book. So you right away, you have a glimpse of, oh, this is about these 7 areas, and you can find them everywhere in business and life. So, and these areas are like a wheel. They're just turning all the time. You can just balance them once. It's not going to happen. It's always a wheel that's running.
I like that, and not to worry for our listeners, we are going to put a link to the book in the description as well, so you'll be able to check that out. The last question I have about the book is actually it's related to why the book is a medium. I'm always interested in hearing this. Why specifically use a book as a medium for that?
The book as a medium.
Yeah, instead of say I don't know a bunch of blog posts or a
Yeah.
video or
Yeah, yeah. So the idea of writing a book was born, I would say, more than 10, 15 years ago. I was joking with a fellow interim manager one day. We had been exchanging experiences from other clients without naming anyone, so it was all confidential. But it was interesting. He had similar experience to myself and so on, and we had been having a good time about it. And one moment we said we need to write a book about it. And then when I was creating my own coaching model, I was thinking about that again. And I said, okay, that's a coaching model is something you need to explain, and explaining it with a couple of blog posts might be not the perfect way doing it. And because of that, I said, okay, but just talking about the coaching model, it's not enough for me. I'd like to blend in the experiences I had from interim management and just showing, hey, if you have this area of, let's say, dependencies, here is how you see it in the real world and in your business and in life. From stories I had been with businesses in the past. So that's the reason why I decided let's make a book out of it. Oops.
excellent. I'm glad. Yes, I love that story. Thank you for sharing. And I'm glad that you mentioned it was 15 years ago because sometimes we hear about people writing books and they say, "Oh yeah, it's it's here and then it's out, in a month, right?" And that's not necessarily the way that it goes. We are coming up a little bit close to the time here, Stephan. It's been a very great conversation. Do you think that there's anything that I should have asked but didn't ask, or anything that you feel we should have covered but didn't cover today?
When it comes to overwhelm, I would say that the last thing or the most important thing is to really recognize when you feel overwhelmed. Just take a step back, relax, taking a look to what is in front of you, what's most important, and just focusing on that. That's the best thing to do all the time. But if you can really drill it down to what is it that you really need, so you have clarity, that you focus on the few things that are really important to you, that are in line with you, and taking action. And action could be so many things. It could be that you work on your inner blocks that might have you procrastinate, or you take really action in the outside world, that you do the things that you need to do to get more clients, get your business profits improved, and so on. So that's all I can say. I guess we covered all of that.
Well, once again, thank you so much for being on the show. And to all our listeners, feel free to check out the book. We are also going to have the various different ways that you can get in touch with Stephan as well. And just remember, if you can't find that motivation or inspiration for yourself today, maybe just go out and try to be that motivation and inspiration for someone else. And we'll see you again next time.